Greetings, YouTube. This is the Garage Autonomist, and this live stream may either suck in complete failure or maybe it might spark a good discussion. Uh, I wasn't expecting to do this at all, and usually when I plan something, or I'm sorry, when I do something out of impulse or my brain just tells me to do it, it normally never works out right, but we'll see. I kind of really do wish I can get back to just talking about the normal commie shit, class war, overthrowing the oppressor. But every time I turn around, some bullshit kicks in. Internal bullshit. This is unbelievable. So, as you can tell by the title, I'm about to talk about Junot Diaz, and I'm going to read something to you all. Now, Zinzi Clemens is a novelist. She recently published a book titled What We Lose. And she, about 20 hours ago and some change, she posted the following tweet. And I'll put the link to her tweet in the low bar later. As a grad student, I'm reading now. As a grad student, I invited Junot Diaz to speak to a workshop on issues of representation in literature. I was an unknown, wide-eyed 26-year-old, and he used it as an opportunity to corner and forcibly kiss me. Hold on here. Sorry. I'm far from the only one that he's done this to. I refuse to be silent anymore. Now, of course, this tweet went viral big time. She has at this point about 550 comments. Now, some of you may or may not be aware of who Junot Diaz is. I'll let you know. He's a world-renowned writer. Some people, because I'm a huge Ishmael Reed fan myself, and Ishmael Reed, of course, is no angel. But so far, the only thing about Ishmael Reed was that he was just an anti-feminist writer. But I've always been a huge fan of his work and always will be. But I used to always think that Junot Diaz followed within that vein between a little bit of magical realism that we saw in Junot's uh, biggest hit, his first novel, uh, "The Wonderful Life and Death," I think, of Oscar Wilde. I can't believe I'm fucking up the title. I mean, that book. I remember. I normally it takes me about a year or 2 years to want to reread a book. I literally reread that book about 2 weeks after reading it. So, The Brief and Wonderful Life, sorry, of Oscar Wilde. So that was his novel. And I think it was last year, or maybe it was a little bit year before last, I read or listened to, because as I talked about this uh, many videos ago, about how hard it is to actually read on the train whenever I'm commuting here in New York City. But his last book, This Is How You Lose Her, which was a friggin' masterpiece. I thought it was great. Uh, the way I felt was that his protagonist, I feel like the worst about Juno, and I always do this, I think about a lot of artists who I like, and I think, well, who are they really? And I would play this game like, well, what would be the worst about this person if I had to judge them based on their work? Because most writers and most creators, uh, in terms of their real life or things that they've actually experienced, it doesn't fall too far from the tree. And I figured probably at the most, Juno was probably a player, that he was probably a big pussy hound. And basically, which I don't consider that the worst, if you're honest. My best and oldest friend, well, my oldest friend, We're not as close as we used to be, but that's neither here nor there. It's about other shit. But my oldest friend was definitely a player, but to my knowledge, he never did anything like assault women. He was all actually completely honest about what he wanted with women. And yeah, he got turned down many times. They were like, "Oh, you just want to hook up. I'm not interested in that." And he'd be like, "All right, I understand." And then, he'd go on to the next person, and then that woman would definitely just be interested in that. And that's all his whole life has been, and to this day it's like that. But that's what I thought, if anything. So I was surprised to read this. Now, from what I understood from a lot of the reactions to Zinzi, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Zinzi Clemens, is that there were many other women who are saying, who've come forward, not necessarily about assaults, but uh, in terms of his reaction to certain questions that he would get asked, especially when "This Is How You Loser" had come out. One woman said that she asked how close was he to his protagonist in terms of his of who he was and his personality, and he went off on the woman for about 20 minutes during the Q&A. So let me go ahead and read. There's an article, and I'll put the link in the low bar, from Vulture, and it says that Junot Diaz's accuser had confronted him publicly during a Q&A at a writers' festival. So it says here that before she detailed her allegations of sexual misconduct against Junot Diaz on social media this morning, Arthur Zinzi Clemens confronted him hours beforehand. So, in other words, 20 hours ago was when she wrote the tweet, but apparently before then she had confronted him. This was during a literary festival in Sydney, Australia. So she was there with him. According to someone who witnessed it, the public exchange took place during the question and answer session following a panel titled "Why We Read," where Diaz shared the stage with four other panelists. Clemens, who published her first novel, What We Lose, last July, took hold of a roving microphone and said that she tried to ask her question during a previous Diaz panel. He replied jokingly, "Oh shit," the source recalls, and she said something like, "You're dead right, oh shit." Speaking with much emotion that seemed like anger, she didn't introduce herself and went straight into the conversation, telling Diaz that he had written his essay for the New Yorker. Now, in case I'm going to throw the link in the low bar as well when I'm done. The New Yorker had recently published this last month on April 16th Junot Diaz's piece, "The Silence, The Legacy of Childhood Trauma," where and the byline is, "I never got any help, any kind of therapy. I never told anyone." So I never really read the piece. My wife is a bigger Junot Diaz fan than I am, actually. And from what I understand, she had read it. So I'll read it later. But anyway, let me just go back to the Vulture article. So as reported earlier in BuzzFeed News, Clemens said that she had invited Diaz to a Columbia University workshop 6 years earlier. He had harmed her, quote unquote, she said, and she wanted to know why you treated me that way. It was unclear to the hundreds of attendees at the festival whether Diaz recognized her or pretended not to. Clemens dropped the microphone and headed for the exit. Diaz said that he wanted her to stay and hear his full answer, for her to hear his full answer, but she called it bullshit and left. And I can understand her reaction, because what was he going to do? I mean, I've seen when dudes get confronted like this in public, and especially if they're the so-called progressive men, the so-called sensitive men, the men who are supposed to know better, right? And I've seen it all. I've seen it happen in activist circles. where they get confronted with stuff that they thought that they could get away with, or they got away with a year ago, or even a decade ago. And they try to do this sort of warm, fuzzy, oh, I know I was wrong about what I did, but, and then they go into these buts, and then they go into this whole big poetic thing. So she probably knew that that's exactly what she was going to get in terms of an answer. I mean, the most you can do if you had ever done anything like this, and if you're at some new level of consciousness or something, is that you should immediately start to search out all those you've assaulted and apologize, confess. If you've actually done something worse than that, maybe you should actually just, I don't know, turn yourself in. It just seems crazy to me that that some of these people just do the shit that they do. And, oh, okay, I'm looking in the chat. What's up, Lord Gaelic? Well, how you doing? Hope you know what it is that I'm talking about. I'm talking about a guy that wrote a book. Books are these things that have pages in them with words, with you know, we call them literature. And Junot Diaz is an author. And anyway, I'm like I said, I just read about this, and I got inspired to do a quick uh talk about this. But you are more than welcome to be in the chat or to even add into it. Hold on. Why not? Didn't even plan on doing this. So fuck it. Anyway, going back to the Vulture article, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. Juno Diaz either didn't grasp or pretended not to grasp questions from Zizzy Clemens about the connection between his New Yorker piece and his behavior with her. Panel attendee Alexander Luft later tweeted, "Unfortunately, the audience, mostly white, older Australians, seemed to instantly rally around Diaz. They wanted Zinzi to stop questioning him. They applauded Juno's answer. Deep problem among both writers and readers." And Alexander Luft, during a Q&A during Sydney oh, sorry. So this is a tweet by Alexander Luft. I guess he's the author. No, he's not. Sorry, he's the guy that they just quoted. All right, so I'm not going to read that part because that's basically what they just said in the article. But the attendee who spoke to Vulture attributed the response to general confusion and the sudden shift in tone. People have criticized the audience as siding with Juno, but at the time of the panel, none of this was knowledge that people had in the room. The attendee said that, referring to the allegations against Diaz, from the point of view of the panel, she was just an angry audience member. After Clemens left, the panel took a few more questions, and then Diaz signed copies of his book. I mean, I would have fucking just left if I was Diaz, but whatever. A couple of hours later, Clemens tweeted her allegations, which was the tweet I read earlier, and everything changed. Clemens said on Twitter that Diaz had forcibly kissed her and sent her unwanted emails. Oh, sounds a little bit like Minister Chap. On many occasions, two other women, Arthur's Carmen Maria Mercado and Monica Byron, I never could pronounce that right, detailed their respective experiences with Diaz's verbal abuse as well. "I take responsibility for my past." Did you now? Because if you took responsibility, Juno, of your past, you would have talked to Miss Zinzi years ago. So sorry, I think you're full of shit. Let's see. Anyway, he said he's take full responsibility of his past. That is the reason I made the decision to tell the truth of my rape and its damaging aftermath. Well, okay, that's all fine and well that you did that in the piece. Again, I didn't read it yet, but my point here is that if you are now going to therapy and you're coming to this knowledge, it's never too late to go back to all those that you've wrong. It's just like fucking, when people are going through therapy. I'm sorry, not therapy. When they're going through the 12 steps, right? You're supposed to go back and circle back with all the people you've ever fucked over when you were high or drunk. And, even though with some people, they're never going to forgive you no matter what, but you are supposed to present what it was that you had done. And it's not supposed to be about satisfying you. It's about you letting them know that you now know what kind of path you've burned and all the people behind you. So, anyway, let's see what's going on in this chat. Force 100, but what's up, man? It's been a long ass while. How you doing? So that's about it, man. I mean, I'll stay on here for a little bit longer, but I just really felt like coming on here and talking about this shit. Because this is kind of coming at a different angle. This wasn't an assault that came from your typical classical, you know, so-called classical chauvinist, right? Or a classic man. This is supposed to be your so-called progressive, right? Now, again, and I'm pretty sure when Zinzi, hey Forrest, this was a I'll tell you what's going on, Forrest. This was a impulse hangout that I'm doing right now. I'm talking about Juno Diaz, the writer. Brief and Wonderful Life of Oscar Wilde, and his last book, This Is How You Lose Her, and now he recently wrote a piece called The Legacy of what's this? Legacy of Trauma. And what happened was he was in Australia last night, or yesterday evening, rather. And he was, for a book signing and a talk. And while he was doing that, a woman in the audience excuse me, who's also a writer, had confronted him about forcible assault on her back when she was like 26 or so. Now, this woman's a writer. Apparently, she was at that festival and she confronted him. And so that's basically what this is about. Then she went and wrote the tweet. Okay. So that's basically what I'm talking about. Lord Gaelic asked, "Is it available on audiobook?" Which one? Both of his books, Brief Life of Oscar Wilde, is on audiobook, and This Is How You Lose Her is on audiobook. The first I read Brief and Life. The Oscar Wilde book I read, and then the latest one, This Is How You Lose Her, was an audiobook that I purchased. And like I said, man, it was good. But you know, so yeah. So yeah, but both of them are on audio, definitely. And so that's what happened, Force. I I was reading all this shit and I was like, you know what? I want to talk about this. And that's what I did. So here I am. And like I said, it would be nice if all this internalized bullshit wasn't going on, because I would go back to boring you all and talking about class war and other communist types of shit. That's another reason why I'm not part of the YouTube Marxist Marxist social club. So Anyway, I'll be putting the links of the low bar, so links in the low bar when I'm done tonight of the tweet, uh, the article from Vulture, and that's it. So, that's all I wanted to do, and I wanted to see if other people were basically talking about this shit. And obviously, the other main point of why I'm talking about this stuff is that it goes hand in hand with with the Me Too movement. I think that it's really sparking a lot of women to coming out and talking about this shit, and men too who've ever been assaulted. And that's what's so ironic about all this shit. Because the last thing that Juno wrote was that New York Times piece. And I guess that was him trying to be like, I'm inspired by the Me Too movement. But goddamn, did you ever did it ever cross your mind about your own past and your own past actions? Force 100 says, I like when you talk about class war and politics. It's great. Thank you, Force. Uh, yeah, thanks. Of course, thank you. Because sometimes I never know if I bore the shit out of people with that, and you can get that from all the other people here on YouTube, I guess. But I think I come at it from a different angle since I've actually was growing up in the working class and all of that. So that's pretty much it. I know there's about 8 people watching right now. I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful for the 5 thumbs up. I'm thankful to Force 100, and I want to give a shout out to Lord Gaelic for showing up here. Um, you know, yeah. Force 100 says, I like it. Forget the rest. Thank you. Thank you. And I need to get you on here again, man. That'd be great. Last time you came on here live was like 2 years ago. We're curious. Brooklyn T. What's up, Brooklyn T? There you go. How you doing, Brooklyn T? I'm over here talking about Juno Diaz and what's going on with him, man. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord Gaelic, for hitting the like. Thanks. But anyway, Brooklyn, I'm gonna leave links in the low bar of this. I'm still kind of Brooklyn T says I'm getting my shit together. So yeah, I'm just talking about this stuff with Juno Diaz and his accuser. Force 100 says, I will be back. And where is Curious and Vuk? Oh, Lord Gaelic, because they moved a lot of the audio stuff. Amazon took a lot of the audio books, and because they basically acquired Audible maybe 3-4 years ago. You have to go to Audible. If you and tip well, actually, if you put it in the search of if you put it in the search of Amazon, what Amazon usually gives you back, what Amazon usually returns with are links to Audible. So if you just go to audible.com, you'll find both of those books there. Because I downloaded This Is How You Lose Her uh, from Audible. So let's see here. What I'm gonna do is see if What We Lose is actually on Audible by Zinzi. I want to check out her book, see what that's about, if she's on there. If not, I'll just order her regular book. I just bought I did buy a printed book off of Amazon. That's the only time you'll find book. I noticed a lot of printed books you can buy on Amazon, and some of their other stuff is available. But yeah, there you go, Lord. It's um it's on Audible. Brooklyn T. Now, Brooklyn, I don't want you to say exactly where you are. I'm just going by the title. So assuming that you are in New York, which you don't have to say yes or no to, do you not find it difficult to read on the train? Because I know I do. It's been a struggle with me since I've lived here. We moved here in 2001. I'm sorry. It was the let's see. It was the spring of 2000. Yeah, it was the spring of 2000. And we moved here in the spring of 2000. And whenever I'm trying to do the home commute or the morning commute, it is really hard for me to concentrate on the train to read, to have to move back and forth, because, like everybody else in the city, when you're commuting, you're talking about the rush hours, going to work and coming home, and playing musical chairs, and forget about it. If the train is packed, there is no chairs. You know, there are no chairs. There are no chairs to play musical chairs with. You're just gonna basically be moving from one nook or corner that you could get into the other. And I'm a tall dude, and I got big ass broad shoulders. It's just hard for me to like navigate physically with a book when I'm trying to move and out of the way and move around. Brooklyn said, "Garage, let me tell you, people on public transportation has no chill at times." That's true. She says, "Very hard. One lady decides to cuss her kid out while the whole bus was quiet." Yeah, well, yeah, that happens. Lord Gaelic says, "That's why I drive my own shit." Well, depending on where you live, Lord Gaelic, I understand. Like a lot of people live in places where, you have to drive. I come from a city where everyone was convinced that they have to drive, but not one time have I ever had a car, and that's Houston, Texas. Uh, Fucking Houstonians will like, and I've said this many times. Fucking Houstonians will drive their cars to the mailbox if they could. But I was never like that. Everywhere I went, I either walked or took the bus, and that's pretty much it. I didn't even like bumming rides from people. Never did, never had it of all my years living there. Let's see here. Brooklyn T says, "Very hard." Yeah, okay, I saw that part. Angela says, "I love reading on public transportation. It's the best way to ignore people." Now, I used to do a lot of reading when I was on the bus in Houston. Oh man, that was fun. Like I mean, that was, believe me, I think I read uh, 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 somewhere like somewhere everywhere from like either a book. Well, I shouldn't say a book a week because all books aren't as long or big. So I would have to say every 2 weeks I had a new book going on, uh, or depending, longer, maybe even a month. Crisis of the Negro Intellectual by Harold Cruz. Yeah, that took me a full month to read that shit. Um, I remember actually taking a break and reading something else in between. I used to know almost every Malcolm X speech from all of the books of his speeches that I've ever had. Ah, damn, it's the month of May. I got to do that. Oh, yeah, I got to do that episode. Oh, my God. Her ears must have been ringing or itching or whatever the fuck that. Curious. My girl, Curious. What's up, man? See, Force 100, when you ask, you get. Curious says, "Hi." Force 100 says, "You have to drive in Houston." Uh, Lord Gaelic says, "I will." Brooklyn T says, "Angela, I use headphones. Without headphones, I feel like crying." Yep, exactly. Lord Geller says, "Fuck no, I refuse to do public transportation." First 100, First 100 says, "Houston Metro is good." Yeah, man. I just hope Houston Metro doesn't wind up like Los Angeles's public transportation. Because what happened there was a documentary. I forgot the name of it. It was a good one too. It was a long time. It was from a long time ago, And they literally in that documentary had mapped out exactly how Los Angeles lost their bus system. And they lost their bus system because a conglomerate of car dealerships got together and they put in the right city council people, or they backed up the right kind of mayors, and anybody who had anything to do with, how can you dismantle a public transportation. I know that they have a bus system, but the bus system that used to work for working people, to get people from one part of the city to the other and all of that stuff, they just shortened the routes and took off routes and got rid of buses more and more, therefore forcing people to drive. Now, like I said, I lived in Houston from 1979 to 2000. The only time that I was in a car that much was when my wife and I got married. Um, but and even then, it was, it was not impossible to live in Houston without a car. It wasn't. Let's see here. Big J is in the house. What's up, Big J? Big J Triple X is here. Curious. Damn, man, this is like an old fucking reunion now. Angela Andrews said we have rabbits, uh, rabbits, and I'll ignore the best of them. I have it down to a science. Oh, she's talking about people on the bus. Brooklyn T says you're a Texan. How's the barbecue? Oh, man, Lord, we about to be on here for a whole hour, Brooklyn T. If I have to talk about barbecue, uh, Curious says, hi, Big J. What's going on? Curious says, boy, I email you. Okay. So, yeah, Curious is cursing me out now. She says, boy, I email you all the time. Don't be acting brand new. No, Curious. I know that you email me all the time. And there's lots of times when I don't even answer. I know that. Y'all, let me tell y'all my real news source, the person who really, gives me ideas and topics and things to talk about is Curious. But yeah, Curious, man. Curious has some history on YouTube, boy. Curious pulled some major trolls in her time, some trolls that, in my opinion, should get like monuments or some shit made over them. Curious has done things like, what was my favorite thing that she ever did? Mike Mills. And some of you may know who he is, and some of you may not. Mike Mills is part of the roast sector, and Mike Mills is just atrocious in terms of how he treats women and what he does. He's one of these stalkers online. When it comes to women, he's done all kinds of fucked up shit. And one day, he was doing a hangout, and suddenly you saw nothing but straight up gay male porn show up show up on his in his hangout, and it immediately got a strike, of course. And I think there was probably a third strike on this particular channel, and he just got taken down easily. Well, Curious was behind that one. So that was some classic trolling right there, but I'll never forget that maneuver. Um, okay, so people are saying hello to each other. Let me just scroll down because now I'm getting behind. So Force 100 says it's politics in LA. Lord Gellick says, hell, I just paid mine off. I guess he's talking about his car. The Honda dealer acted like they didn't want my money. Brooklyn T says, hi, honey. Angela, I was thinking of your tats. They look fly on you. Well, what I did see. Big J said, do not insult my barbecue. Force 100 says, Houston has the best barbecue. Curious says, oh, okay. So she's like thanking me for the comments that I made. Man, you can't be Curious. Curious rewrote. Curious rewrote being a female black goddess on YouTube, a warrior goddess on YouTube, like a true warrior. That's how she was. These dudes feared Curious. As soon as they heard that voice, they were like, I'm kicking her off. Let me block her and get her the fuck out of my chat room and get her the fuck off my hangout. She had dudes scared. Force 100 says they call him Dookie Mills. Yep, Dookie Mills, the shit eating monkey, as they call him. Curious says that was good times, brother Garage, and I used to run the streets. I used to run the streets, you guys. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So yeah, let me go ahead and Lord Gaelic says, what was the name of the second book? The name of the second book was called This Is How You Lose Her. This is How You Lose Her. Curious says the key was to make sure the screen showed the exact perfect angle because Mike in LA, she's referring to Lamar Wills, if you're not familiar with the roast sector, knew what was coming if they spouted some homophobia. That's right. If these dudes got homophobic, which they always do, or if they got, sexist, which they always did, Curious was always there to like fuck up their shit, stop their whole goddamn show. Curious says, and it had to be specific. If they were talking Hotep, it had to be interracial gay porn. And Force 100 says, L-bum, you mean? Yeah, L-bum. That's right. So, okay, let's talk about barbecue freak for a minute. I mean, I'm on here, man. I got 11 people watching me. Fuck it. I was going to shut this shit down after I said what I needed to say about Juno, but fuck that guy. Anyway, I said what I needed to say. Okay, so if I had a judge, you got to understand Brooklyn T. This goes to Brooklyn T. I come from two barbecue. Well, I come from a barbecue state, but my home state, my hometown, is Kansas City, Missouri. And Kansas City is also known as a barbecue city. Now, I used to love the barbecue growing up there. But when we moved to Texas, hell no. Texas barbecue kills it all. First of all, because there's two different styles, and I love both. You got regular old barbecue, like, what people do in their backyard. So, you're talking about beef ribs, pork ribs, chicken, the usual shit, right? And then you got like your smokehouse style. That's the shit that comes when you go to eat it, and it comes in the pink paper wrapper, and it usually comes with the sausage. They're usually like the smoked sausage, and I have to give props to all the German and Polish people that immigrated or that settled in Texas back in the colonist days, the colonial days, right? But and then you got the smoked. So most of that is like the smoked, and then you just got the grill. Now, before we left Houston, I owned a oil can grill. I bought that thing for like $50 at a Fiesta. I know Big J Triple X remembers Fiesta. I mean, I know those are still around. And Fiesta is like this huge, supermarket chain in Houston, but it's styled in the supermercado or Mexican style market. So you go there and they would sell like a lot of international foods. Like in some aisles they had like Asian and African and stuff like that. But it was really their produce area that reminded you of like the Mexican style supermarkets. And and of course outside of the stores, they would sell all kinds of shit. Everything from like electronic appliances, whatever. Well, that was when I was coming up. But if you wanted a grill, you could go there. And what I loved owning and what I liked always cooking with was the oil can grill. So that's basically where they take an old oil can, the 50-gallon one, and you get a cutter like a welder, whatever, and you cut it in half. You put some hinges on the back. Then you take the old no, it's not corrugated. I forgot that style, that mesh metal. It's been a year since I've been in industrial, so I forgot. And then you can just put your coals in the bottom. But you can also do it to where you can cook it like a smoker. So yeah. Let me see. Force 100 says barbecue hamburgers are so good. Red Wings Hockey is in the house. What's up? Brooklyn T says, I need someone to smash the BBQ in an email. Big J Triple X says that it has to be the right wood. Yeah, you do. The best wood that I remember, and when I was a teenager, from when I was 17 to 21, I was a cook. And you all know about this. Old people, old heads of this channel know. I used to be a cook professionally. And so that's where I learned how to cook on a mesquite grill. And mesquite, of course, is very common in Texas, but it's a very good wood. There's no flavor. There's no other kind of wood like it in terms of the kind of flavor that you can do to it. But when you're cooking over it. So yeah, so Big J Triple X is correct. You need the right kind of wood to smoke it, and really you need the right kind of grill to smoke anyway, like an actual smoker. But yeah, that's pretty much it, y'all. Like that's Texas barbecue is like smoke or just regular old grilling. Lord Gaelic says my cousin makes drum grills. Exactly. Uh, Now Big J says I never trust oil barrel pits. You're gonna have to tell me why, Big J. Uh-oh, good. Somebody just jumped on.
What you know about a hot link?
What's I'm curious?
All that talking, you didn't mention hot links?
Oh, I thought I said. Well, I said, Saul. You're right. I didn't mention hot links, and
Sausage. You've been
yeah.
living. You listen. You must not be in Texas any longer.
Yeah, you're right. But you know what? I think that's more of a black. Like I know that in growing up, we just call them just hot links, and yeah, so I would have to say I just done got bougie over the years, and I just say sausage. But you're right.
Oh yes, fancy.
Yeah, yeah. But you're right though.
I
Um,
haven't had a hot link in years. To be honest with you, I didn't discover them until I was older, and now I'm really craving one. There's
you
nowhere
know
you
what?
can go. You can't get that outside of familial connection.
You're right. You're right. You know what it is? What I've remember, you know what? I'm gonna throw the link just in case anyone else wants to join. This is good, man. I miss you so much, Curious. It's not
Oh,
even funny.
you too.
Hold on here. All right. So,
What about rib tips? What do you know about those? Have you had those?
wait, what?
Rib tips.
Oh man. Okay, so oh no, wait, you said the rib tips, or do you mean the tri-tip?
Oh, yes. Well, when you
Yeah,
say okay, it could be either
right.
or. But you know what? I think those are just as good as ribs.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I like the rib tips are good. I can't cook. I haven't cooked any. I have not grilled or barbecued those before.
Oh
Ever.
yeah, yeah. I like. Well, the rib tips are good. I can't cook.
Let's
I
see.
haven't cooked any. I have not. I have not grilled or barbecued those before. Oh
Ever.
yeah, yeah. I like.
Okay. So okay, I see it's Angela.
Hi, Sister Angela. You have to turn down your volume, or
Well,
else.
she could turn down her volume, and she just needs to turn off the. She had this problem last time. She just needs to turn off the speaker of her main browser or whatever she's.
Mhm.
If she can, if you Angela, just type in the chat and let us know if you turned off the speaker. What's up, Big J? Man, this is fucking fun. Big J's in the house.
Chat and let us know if you turned off the speaker.
Okay.
What's up, Big J? Man, this is
not the
Big J's in the house.
much, man, but I'm looking at the plate.
Speaker.
Okay.
I'm looking at that plate and it's putting a tear to my eye.
Hold on. Angela, did you turn off the? Okay, I'm not echoing anymore. Maybe she did it already. Okay, good. Now, what were you saying, Big J?
Yeah, but yeah, I was looking at that plate of hot links and that brisket, man. That put a tear to my eye. Like, I'm thinking about going outside and put some meat on on the pit right now. I mean, you make me hungry right now. Curious.
Well,
Man.
That is
now
a
that you talk like that,
man.
I'm gonna have
Anyway,
to come in and pan out.
yeah, one thing
that.
is missing:
Go ahead.
some beans.
Yeah.
Put me on the grill now. You made me on. You made me hungry right now. Curious. Yeah.
See, she's always doing something with the
Some
damn
potato
visual.
salad on the side. Oh, man.
Well, what about a nice potato salad?
Yeah, you can't have. I mean, well,
Yeah,
you can,
yeah. I'm just.
but I love
Oh
potato
man.
salad. That's my
But it
favorite.
has to be from the right person.
Yeah.
It's cutting out.
Yeah, Big
Yeah,
J.
yeah. Because like some people do not know how to make potato salad. Yeah. I, what exit out? I did God, so I'll hang next time.
Okay, I think this person, Phil D,
He's gone.
having trouble with their sound. Big J, can we hear
No,
you?
he's gone. Because I know who that is.
Yeah,
Well, you know that
yeah.
just kick people out.
I figure out. I figure out who he is now. I figure out who he is now.
Let me look in the chat real quick, and I see New Possibilities is here. He's saying, "What is the subject tonight?" New Possibilities. I started off talking about Arthur Junot Diaz. He got Me Too'd recently, as of 20 hours ago, and I started off with that. And now we basically, after I read the article and I read the young lady's tweet, his accuser, they were both in Australia for a writers festival, and then she took to Twitter and told her story, and then after that ended, I went into barbecue. So that's where we're at.
Well, and I'm looking at that too, and I mean, it's just odd that somebody, not odd, it's just disgraceful that even people involved with the liberation of women can turn and do these kinds of things. It's upsetting.
Yeah, I
I
mean
think
that's the
there are a lot of
problem.
people just giving lip service.
You know what I hate is that not only do you doing lip service, but the problem is not you going back and doing something about the shit that you did in your past. That's the problem that bothers me. No, you're not going to be able to fix the shit that you did in your past. You may or may not, but some people are never going to forgive you, whatever. But you're supposed to be at that elevated consciousness, and you just wrote this piece coming out truthfully about your own sexual assault as a man, or rather, in your case, when you were a boy. But then you don't want to face up to the shit that you actually did in your past. That's a
But do you
problem.
think that that might have been written? Because what I'm seeing now is people are, to soften the blow of what they know is coming next. Because honestly, the nature of abusers is to be manipulative, right? And if they know some information is going to come out, they may try to manipulate the public's perception by doing puff pieces like that. I'm kind of, at this point, less trustworthy. Not less trustworthy, less trusting of people that sexually assault others to the degree that they describe their own abuse, to be very honest.
Yeah. Let's see here. Big A Triple X says, "Curious GA, I must take my leave. Y'all have a good one." Okay.
You too.
All right, man. Angela, can you hear us? Are you back? Okay.
Yes, I'm back.
All right, good. So let me see here. Good. I mean, just join in whenever you want to say or talk about say anything.
Oh yeah, sure.
Uh basically everybody else in the chat, they're still going on about barbecue, which is fine. We ain't expecting y'all to switch channels like we doing. Um and so okay, if Phil if Phil these nuts is not who I think you are, all right, I'm sorry that I ejected you, but you were having mic problems, and that's another thing for the future. If anyone is joining in, which I did put the link down for y'all to join, if you do have mic problems and you're echoing and all that, when I eject you, please do not take that as I'm blocking you or it's a hostile thing or anything like that. I'm just trying to make sure that the show is continuing on until y'all get your technical ends fixed. As a matter of fact, if you fix your technical ends, then you could just simply type in the chat, "Hey, I put the silence on my speaker. Everything is good." Or, "Hey, my microphone is working. Everything is good." And then and I'll say, "Okay, good. Jump back on. No problem."
Well, I just wanted to share one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a educated reason of barbecue and where it originated from. It's actually from the Caribbeans, and the word comes from the word called barbacoa. And
Right.
it's really just a term for how they smoked the meat. You know, it's just how they prepared it. Just wanted to throw that out there.
And thank you for that, Angela. I know that the first time I talked about barbecue, I brought that up.
Mhm.
Because I did, and again, it was I can't even remember what video it was. It was like maybe 2 years ago. I talked about it, and yes, you are correct. Both Native Americans, and that would include, of course, the Native people in Caribbean, but then the slaves also, because in Africa, that's also how they cooked or barbecue. They dug actually what they did was they would dig a pit. So this is another thing that's very interesting about human anthropology is how some societies have done certain things, all along. And there might be differences and stuff, but the similar principle is this: you dig a big ass hole, you put some leaves down, you put some hot coals in, then you put something that was alive and you cover it up and you eating good. Hours
It's
later,
good eat. It's good eats.
it's good eats. Now, I see that Lord Gaelic at some point had mentioned cooking a whole hog. I went to a quinceañera years ago of a co-worker of mine back when I was in Texas. And it was the first time that I ate off of a whole pig. And damn, that was good. I was like, wow. Lord Gaelic says, I saw a YouTube video of a guy grilling a whole hog. The shit looked fly as fuck. So I
That
called the
is
butcher and ordered one.
wrong. Okay,
Wait,
you know what I'm learning about
what?
Garage?
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning about the history of dominations, and I've heard that animal domination came before females were um, dominated. That's the history.
I read.
So I read an article a little while ago from someone by the name of Annabelle Chong, and she's pretty young. She's 22 years old, and she did an article about domination and she called it animal warfare. I'm not real privy and educated on what animal warfare is. I actually chuckled a little bit because I didn't quite understand her angle, but I kind of like put a mental note in the back of my mind to do like more research on that and kind of figure it. So it's really funny that you guys are bringing that up right now because I read it probably about like 2 or 3 days ago. And I had, most of the terms that were being used, I had never heard before. So I'm like, oh my God, like what is animal warfare? What is she talking about? So I had kind of like made a mental note to pull more research on that and educate myself on that. So if you have any information, I'm ready and willing to listen.
Well, I've never heard of her, but
Okay.
It's you know,
Just
it's
want to
one of the things.
apologize.
That's cool. Thank you. That's totally understandable.
it's admirable.
Okay, so
You
deep
know,
distance.
mhm.
So is this a cause? Is this a movement?
Yes.
Okay. So what is the
This is
catalyst
organization.
behind it?
They're an environmentalist group,
Okay.
but their approach to feminism is um, is radical and it's ecofeminism. So the women there are ecofeminists, and the men there are pro ecofeminism or pro radical feminists, both. But they're just so interesting.
Are you
And
pro feminist, Garage?
I support it, but I don't consider myself a male feminist. Not at all.
yeah, male feminists are somebody who supports feminism is a pro feminist, and a male feminist is somebody that thinks that they can identify themselves as a feminist even though they're a man. And I'm sure some of them mean well, but yeah.
You don't think
Well,
it's landing?
you don't think what now?
You don't think the point is landing, Miss Cure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that I support men who are pro feminist. You're not trying to take the place, because what will happen is they will center themselves in the fight for women's causes to
Exactly.
that things are taken in a different direction. I mean, they'll start fighting um, for prostitution to be a public health right for disabled men. I mean, that's what they do. They co-opt the movement.
Hmm.
So,
Okay.
Also, well, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So I had asked a question in the chat, but I think you missed it.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you, would you be interested in being a part of a panel?
me?
You mean curious or me?
You. Well, you is
What
not
you-
a direct answer. Garage.
yeah, of course. I would do that. For sure would.
Okay. So, I think the best bet, because I'm not real big on tech technical difficulties on YouTube. I'm new to this, so I don't really know how to keep the sound and everything to where everybody can hear and it's not anything echoing. I think the best bet will be to do it on your channel, but I'm interested in doing a panel of men and women. I don't know who all I want to be on the panel yet. I knew instantly I wanted you to be on the panel,
Mhm.
because I think you're level-headed. I think you're capable of having a conversation, and I think you'll have intellect and educational backing behind your opinion, which is what
Thank
I'm
you.
looking for the panel. I'm just very interested. Another person will be Kara. Um, I wanted it to be 3 women and 3 men,
Gotcha. Yeah,
but
I would
I
love to
don't
be
know.
part of that. I
I don't
mean,
know any
listen,
other men.
I
I don't.
understand that. Listen, I think that I mean, I would be fine doing that here, but I would love to see you be able to, get your channel going, like get it. Like I think, well, how about if we set up like a hangout, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like a private hangout, right? I can go
Mm-hmm.
over some of the technical stuff with you and
Okay.
and share the screen and all of that and show you like what you could be doing and things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
then that way you won't have to worry. That way when you actually do the panel, you'll be
Mm-hmm.
set. Because really, it's not about all you got to really do is just say at some point like, "Oh, this is my setup. So this is what I'll do. I'm gonna send you a direct message probably tomorrow because I'm probably gonna have to leave pretty soon. But I'm gonna send you a direct message tomorrow with the email address to this channel. And
Mm-hmm.
what you'll do is just tell me everything that you do I mean, in terms of your equipment, like what are you using when you do a hangout, or like when you join other people's hangouts? Like, are you using your phone, or are you using a computer, or whatever?
Well, I'm on Chromebook right now. So
Okay. Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, you can do everything on Chromebook that you could do on a laptop or a desktop. So we'll just go over some of the technical stuff, and then we'll try to do like a private hangout, and then I could just go through a quick coaching, because I believe me, that me helping out people on technology stuff is I really don't want to come out and say it, but it's familiar ground for me, very familiar. So I can help you out with that.
Well, do you know any other men who would want to be a part of the panel?
I would see if you could get new possibilities on there, if possible. If he has the free time.
Who?
His name is New Possibilities.
I've never heard of him.
Okay, well, yeah, just type him up in Google. Sorry, in YouTube, and you'll see his channel. It's a big channel. It'll come up.
Okay.
I know that I know that Curious and I have different opinions about New Possibilities, but he just came to mind. Other people that I know, they don't like to really talk all that much. So, like, in public, but their ideas are good. Like, who I know, but they just don't want to do it. But this is interesting now. Okay, now that might take care of the pest situation. Not quite sure how actually he was able to get in, because he's actually blocked, and I know other people who I've blocked in the past, have never been able to bust in like that. So I'm not sure how that happened. But anyway,
created a new channel.
Well, you know what? I think you are correct. Well, one of his current ones, the one he actually got in on, I know I'm blocked with him. But the other one I was not, and that was a newer channel. So I'm not really sure how that happened. I couldn't find them in. Normally, if you do a thing where you find them in Google Plus and you block them there, that's airtight. Like, there's no way they can ever do anything. And for some reason, he's not coming up in Google Plus. Anyway, but let's go back to intelligence, because it's not like he does the same thing. And I know what he's going to do. He's going to make a stupid ass video and get back and be like, yeah, because people do this to me all the time. But see what it's like, shut up, man. First of all, you don't get talked about on this channel. Your name never comes up on this channel, and it never will. Two, again, I never called in on his Talk Real Solutions show. Everybody else keeps telling me he thinks that it's me. It never was me. It never was. I don't know who those people were. So he just needs to grow up. And you just saw he just acted like a big old child trying to come in here on grown folks' conversation. Anyway, let me just look at the chat real quick here. Everybody is still talking about barbecue. Not a bad idea. Penny Proud says, my sister has a unique beauty like Angela. She gets asked out a lot. Oh, that's a good compliment. Penny says, Lord, I said your voice sounded like the guys on 6th Street who love barbecue. That's the area where we buy barbecue in Florida. Oh, okay. So Penny's in Florida.
So Penny,
yeah,
I don't get asked out a lot.
Oh.
I mean, thank you, but guys are, I don't know what type of vibe I send off, but guys I don't get the typical pickups. You know what I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't get the typical, hey, you're beautiful, I don't get that. I never get it. And I tell people that all the time. They find it hard to believe, but I never get picked. I never get hit on. Never. Like, I can go about my day. I had 2 events today, and I'm always around people. So I had 2 events today. I either get people staring weirdly, or nobody ever says anything to me. So I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is. I've never been able to figure it out. And I'm not going to say anything to you because I feel as though if a man really is really, really interested, he'll say something.
Yeah. I think that I mean that's one of the things that they're talking about now with the whole debate about street harassment is that they're saying, well, how are we supposed to talk to women if now they're trying to criminalize? We all know that there's a difference between you generally trying to strike up a conversation versus hey, sexy, hey, like there's a huge difference between that and literally just saying to somebody, hello, how you doing? And like but even then, it's like you got to pick the time to do it. If you literally see it's 5 o'clock, it's getting dark. You see that some women are out there kind of rushing. I would say she's probably just got off work. She's probably going to go pick up her kid at daycare. Why in fuck would you need to bother her at that moment in time trying to holler at her? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think there's ever, you got to use some damn common sense and some good instinct when you want to pick a time. Me personally, I think if you go to a bar or a club, that's the time to try to talk to people because they're out there for a reason.
Yeah.
Either or if they out there to try to well, maybe somebody will come talk to me, that'd be cool. They're usually going to be by themselves or they're going to be with a small group. If they were a big group, they really are there with their friends. They ain't trying to see you step to them right now. So it's like you got to just use some damn common sense, man. I mean, that's all it takes. But curious, you really brought up some really interesting shit. I feel like I would love to actually do a whole separate show about that topic because I was just about to say that the whole correlation between meat, animals, culture of domination, and then feminism I think that's really interesting. I mean, it took me years to even stop laughing at that idea, and I was like, because I was a jerk. But when I was younger, I'm not gonna lie about that shit. But it took me years, and then it kind of began to kind of make sense to me. I mean, look, man, I tried being vegan from last July, and it went all the way up until last month. But it was not. I mean, maybe just too many years of eating meat like that. I mean, I know a lot of people got excuses, and I'm one of them. But
I wonder if it's chemically addicting.
You what now?
I wonder if it's chemically addicting.
I think it is. I think it's chemically addicting to on both fronts. I think it's probably chemically addicting when it comes to the shit that they're putting in the meat to begin with, the hormones and everything else. And I think that before we started poisoning our own food and eating it, so we're talking decades before. I think there's just the overall chemical feeling it gives you when you're eating it. It's like I mean, we could talk like for instance, we know that there's a scientific connection with chocolate and the way people eat it and how it makes us feel when we eat it. I can't see how meat doesn't give you that same feeling. But food in general gives me that same. I mean, I could think of Chinese broccoli gives me a good feeling. Like I don't know how else to put it. Like, but I think meat does. I think that there's definitely a chemical kickoff, if you will, when you eat it. I know if anyone stopped eating it and people are vegans, they could probably talk more about that once they get off of it and that feeling afterwards. But yeah, like I was saying in Texas, yeah, I was a way bigger carnivore there. Although that oldest friend of mine that I had mentioned earlier, the one who was a player, when I was talking about Juno, he was a vegetarian since he turned 13. And interestingly enough, he grew up in a house of violence. He grew up in a house of domestic violence. His father, used to beat their mother, used to beat them. And it did when I first heard that theory after laughing at it, I really did think about my friend, and I thought about like, oh shit, like he is an avid, like strict vegetarian and a vegan, and he don't joke, and yet he came out of one of the most violent backgrounds and households that one could imagine. Forrest, what's up, man?
He finally got in. I hope
Yep, I
I'm
see.
telling him that he has to use his cell phone to call in. Well, yeah. What Derek Jensen was saying was that human domination was the first
Oh,
domination, is what I thought he was saying. But they're really an interesting organization, Deep Green Resistance, and I'm enjoying watching them talk. I know that by now you probably know of Robert Jensen.
yeah. I was just about to. Well, I don't know about Rod. I know about Derek. I was just about to ask you, curious, because when you were talking about Deep, I was like, Deep Green, is that Deep Green Resistance? Is that the same group of Derek Jensen? But see, Derek Jensen's a controversial figure because while he talks about environmental issues, he talks about animal rights.
Mm-hmm.
He's mainly a hugely targeted person in terms of being accused of being transphobic or being a turf.
Yes, he is. He's
Which
attacked by the environmentalists. He's attacked by trans activists. He's attacked by people claiming feminist, liberal feminism, corporate
right,
feminism. Okay,
yeah,
these corporate groups who co-opt these different environmentalist and pro-human movements.
right,
He
right.
is deeply. I probably should have told Angela this. That man is controversial. Deep Green Resistance is controversial, but I like them, and what they're saying makes sense. And he seems to be a well-read man.
Oh shit! Somebody just mentioned oxtails. That's my crack. Uh, oh man, don't get
Mine
me,
too.
huh?
Mine too.
Man, I mean, come on, man. That collagen is just. I mean, Curious said, I wonder if meat is addictive, if it's a chemical. I mean, the damn collagen and oxtail is just like, I mean, I just go off into just like this whole other
You know what they
thing.
put? You know what they put me in the mind of?
But
I know it's gonna be a stretch, but they put me in the mind of sunflower seeds. You know how you can just like not stop eating them. You
yeah,
never get enough. Like it's not even just the flavor; it's just the whole process of eating them. It's just kind of just like crab legs, just the everything that goes into it. It's just. I mean, I call crab legs sunflower seeds of the sea.
I like that. Damn, that's good. Yeah, that's exactly what they are.
Anything you got to get dirty and pick apart, and you just get so invested. It's almost like a video game to a child. Nobody can talk to me while I'm eating oxtails, or come on now. Like, what conversation am I really having at that point?
Exactly.
What's up, everybody?
What's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on, man? I had to jump in on my cell phone. What's going down with y'all?
Nothing much, man. This is so cool.
I know, man. I already been saying I was gonna try to get on, so I say let me go and jump in on my phone. But now, Houston H-Town Lou got that best barbecue though. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep. You right about that, man.
And you know what? There's a whole culture, because now all of his addicts are coming together to talk about our addiction. There's just not as much support for veganism. When people think about veganism, they think about being physically attacked by somebody from PETA.
Hey.
Oh, you know what? I just want to say this one last thing, and then we can go right back to what we're talking about. I just want to go curious. Curious in the last 12 months or so, I'm now considered a turf on Twitter. So a lot of people, yeah, I don't consider myself a transphobic person at all, but because for whatever reasons, because I like people like Mancheese and them, they've been spreading this around on Twitter that Garage Autonomist is a turf. Anyway, but like I was saying, no, man, yeah, oxtail. Yeah, let's go back to that. And then now Forrest is talking about the Houston barbecue. Do you Forrest, is Good Company still around?
No, I haven't seen them in a minute.
I think that whole chain closed, man. But I didn't really think they were all that good to myself. I didn't
They
really.
got a Triple J barbecue down here though.
I never heard of Triple J.
Yeah, Google it, man. They got some of the best barbecue. Cause I stay over here off Homestead and Tidwell, and when you
Mm.
mentioned, I think like last year sometime you was talking about the monuments over there by Allen Parkway in Fourth Ward.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
old
yeah,
slave town.
yeah, yeah. That area that Force 100 Bull is referring to historically is also the first freedmen's town. This is the first area
Yes.
where the African Americans of I'm sorry, the African slaves when they were freed. That was the first settlement of the slaves. It was Freedmen's Town, if you ever look it up, and that area became hugely contested by the corporations because they loved that area. They wanted that area because it was close to the bayou. It was just a very scenic area,
Mm-hmm.
and as always, areas that African Americans have settled into years ago when nobody gave a shit, and now they want the properties. Just like what happened in there is happening in Harlem or has already happened in Harlem.
Hey,
Third Ward will probably be next, and I'm pretty
no,
sure it is.
Yeah,
go.
barbecue
Uh,
barbecue in Houston, the beginning started in the fourth ward. So
yes, it did. But I was gonna say garage. Uh, You right, man. Fourth Ward. I mean, it's still Fourth Ward, but it's no more. They doing the same thing with Third Ward, Fifth Ward. I
Mhm.
mean, now you see like what I'm saying. People from way out in like Kingwood, they moved in. You see them walking their dogs and playing frisbee in the park, and they got new condos built up. So it's like gentrified now.
Yeah, yeah. I when we last time I was in Houston was well the last two times I was in Houston. We went on vacation in 2009,
Uh
and
huh.
I barely recognized the Freedman's Town, Allen Parkway area, barely. Although there was some stuff that was still there, and then I would say in parts of my old neighborhood because I'm from Third Ward, and in parts of
Okay.
my old neighborhood, uh, sorry, in parts of my old neighborhood there, man, I was like, damn, it was like all kinds of condos, like these Florida style, like those Miami
I know.
style
I
condos
know.
were there. I was like, damn, what is going on here? And and I heard like all the doctors from the medical center, like usually not interns, but the brand new doctors, the younger ones, they
Right.
moved to those areas. And yeah, man, it's just like it's unbelievable. Now the older Harlemites here, they'll tell you like the neighborhood that I particularly live, the block that I particularly live on, man, they was talking about how rough it was, and now they like, man, I can't believe how many of them walking around. People are walking their dogs, smoking a little vape. They're vaping, doing their vaping. All these hipsters, they like, what the hell, man? They said like, this block was literally a war zone less than 10 years ago, and
Exactly.
now look. Yeah. And that's the thing, man. See, I know that we all like our people, we get a little bit of money and we leave.
Exactly.
And sometimes we just have no idea what we lose. And when we lose it, other people want it. And when other
But then
people want it,
But
watch
then you
out.
gotta understand too. You gotta understand too, garage. Let's be real with it. A lot of people, especially down here in poor neighborhoods, you come at them with $20,000, $30,000. That's a lot of money to them. You know what I'm saying? But to the people that's buying
Right.
the property, that's nothing. So who wouldn't be
Mhm.
glad to get? Who wouldn't be glad to get 30, 40,000? You see what I'm saying?
No, I agree. I know what you're saying, man. I mean, it's a catch 22. I don't condemn if people are able to sell out, then I don't condemn them particularly. I really just condemn the actual machine behind it all. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what I'm about. Like, and
Hmm.
of course, then the people who can't afford to leave and don't really own anything. So you know what happens there because people always talk about, oh yeah, these people want to live in a ghetto. They like living in and buildings that are falling apart. It's like, no, the buildings are falling apart because the landlords are letting them fall apart because
Exactly.
they know that if they devalue the property, believe it or not, the higher that property is going to sell.
Exactly.
Because like the Donald Trumps and people like that will come in and say, yeah, so that they sell the building, the landlords leave, the people living in there get evicted by the state constable because no one owns the building anymore, and you
Right.
can't squat. You can't squat the building. You can, but we all know how those wind up ending. It winds up being like almost like Mossad or some shit, like a massacre or something. And you just
Right.
get kicked out, and you just and that's it, and that's it. And then they demo the building, and they build a condo instead. And in the Bronx, as we all know, back in the 70s, they just was built fire to the damn building. That's what they was doing. They pay some
Wow.
kids. They would just pay some kids money. The kids thinking they seeing major money, and little do they know that what they're ultimately doing is burning out their own neighborhoods, and that money they ain't never gonna see again. So they get paid $100 to $200 to burn buildings, burning out other families, and then the landlords just sell the property and the land, and that's exactly how some parts of the Bronx wound up getting gentrified.
Wow.
Yep.
Cause I'm from Fifth Ward, and Fifth Ward is damn near gentrified. Like over there by the Kelly Courts, they rebuild all over there. They got condos all by the freeway, man. I'm talking about, and they going deeper in. I'm not sure if you're familiar with like the Brewster Park area or over in the Fifth
Uh,
Ward. Okay, well let me
Probably.
say
I
59.
used to live.
Mm-hmm.
We lived in Fifth Ward, but for a hot minute, we lived off
Yeah.
of Breckenridge Street. But
Okay,
I went to E.O. Smith at the time.
that's
I
the
don't know
middle
if E.O.
school I
Smith
went.
is. Yeah, yeah. It was a junior high at that time when I went there. But yeah, so that was in that area. But I may not be too familiar because, like I said, we was only there for about a year, and then we moved to
Yeah,
Third Ward.
yeah. Okay, well, you remember H.P. Carter School?
Maybe. Nah,
Okay, well,
no. Actually, no. I don't remember.
E.O. Smith got tore down. I think they rebuilt it. I'm not sure if they rebuilt it, but because they was talking about putting condos there, but the people had to like vote it out because they wanted it to remain a middle school.
Right, I got you. Right. Yeah, that would make sense because if that gets turned into something else, you're talking about a bunch of kids getting moved around and bussed out to other schools that are probably going to be overcrowded.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, as far as Houston go, man, it's like, it's like well, I can't say it's like in the other city, but the crime rate done risen here, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. My sister told me, man. She still lives there. I know that did the crime rate begin? Did it jump after Katrina? Do you think, or has it
Uh,
been like that?
it's kind of been like that, but kind of after Katrina hit, man. I mean, after Katrina hit, that's when like a lot of New Orleans, like the criminal organizations start moving in, and that's when like they had Houston against New Orleans, so everybody got territorial, but it's mainly over drug territory,
Right.
you know. So, but I mean, Houston always been like that, but kind of like since Katrina, I guess you could say it kind of jumped up a little bit, yo.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, look, man, Houston had its bad parts, but
Hmm.
then it was like a matter of who you also ran with. If you didn't run with nobody, you was gonna be cool. But
Yeah.
you would be all right. But yeah, most of the people who I'm still related to, I mean, who I'm related to, people who I'm related to, and friends that I'm still friends with, they all been saying how bad it gets, and it's almost like if you don't have the money to move somewhere else better, then you always got to watch your back and shit like
Yes.
that.
Yes, but see, I noticed like it's just because I'm like, man, a few years ago it wasn't even this bad, you know what I'm saying? And like as far as like I was discussing with somebody the other day, someone I went to high school with who's just getting out of prison, right? He was telling me about how like like some or like when the crack trade hit about like 85, 86, that's how the Bloods and Crips got down here and like the GDs and because I know Houston ain't really just known for that. We
Right.
ain't no gang banging city. We're like a drug city, but since the gangs came in, then they took most of the gangs took over the drug territory.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly. I mean that because that's the thing, man. Like that's exactly when you know the drug thing is going to get worse is when you get the organized element in it. And the organized element only exists because the money that comes out of drug dealing. So,
Right?
yeah. And you're right because the only Crips or blood situation I remember when I was living there was not in Houston but was in Galveston. And
Right.
then like back in the late 80s, early 90s. And so I honestly just did not ever remember seeing any kind of Crip or blood, nothing. And then as soon as we left Texas, I'd say about a couple of years after we left Texas, like early 2000s, that's when I started hearing about people. That's when I started hearing about people cripping and shit. I was like, what?
Yeah, like man, no disrespect to nobody from LA or California, but that's they stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? No
Exactly.
disrespect to nobody from Chicago, but GD's Vice Lords, that's they stuff. Now we got local gangs here, like you got the Houstons, you got that's homegrown local stuff. But when that took over, man, it's like the city. It just took the whole Houston over swarm. Like, come on, man, y'all ain't being y'all self.
Man, that's fucking crazy, man. That's shit.
Man.
Well,
It
y'all,
is.
I'm sorry, no, didn't mean to cut off everybody, but this is good. This is like I really wasn't expecting. I think I peaked up to like 17 watches at some point. I really wasn't expecting y'all to join like this. I came on here to talk about one thing. I thought I was gonna get off of here in about 15 minutes, but I got to get my daughter to New Jersey because she's got something going tomorrow. So
I'm gonna jump in on y'all again though soon. Just let me know when you have one.
yeah, I sure will, Forrest, man. Thank you so much. And I'm going to thank Curious and
Thank you, Curious.
Angela.
Thank you.
And I want to thank Elm City and Penny. And damn, you know what? This is crazy, man. With
Thanks,
Curious
Penny.
on here, Curious being on here has now solved a couple of mysteries. And that's okay. Like the mysteries that I had are people who I'm cool with. But I now okay, I'm not gonna go into any details, but that's cool. That's interesting. So this tells me that there really are a lot of people out here who I'm friends with on YouTube who happen to be real individual peoples. So
Garage. I've been rocking day one. Garage.
huh?
I've been rocking with you since day one, man. You know that.
We've
Of
been
course,
here
yeah,
for
yeah,
a
yeah.
minute.
No, curious thing. What curious know what I'm saying because I kind of thought for a while Penny was somebody else, and I kind of thought until I heard Penny's voice, but until she started making videos. But then I thought Strange Fruit was somebody else, and I thought so. In other words, all these people are who they are. They're all themselves, and
Mhm.
curious, of
Exactly.
course, is curious. So that's good. Okay. But I want to
Go.
give a shout out. Oh, go ahead.
What happened to Bewildered Ape, man? The-
He you don't well Bewildered Ape is married now and he
Mhm.
is living in San Diego
Okay.
and he is going to be a dad very soon.
Yes,
Okay.
Jenny was pregnant.
Would you like to know who the mom is?
Yes. Who is the mom?
Mom is none other than Jenny Kiss, i.e. Jenny McDermott.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jenny be going in on him, man. She got roast on her, man.
Yeah, she sure do. But yeah, but she's been chilling, and Bewildered Ape has been chilling, and they're about to be a family very soon.
Well, I'm happy for him. I'm very, very happy for him because I mean I know it's been a while since. I mean I still watch your videos, but I ain't, I'm gonna stay because as soon as I log in, you one of the first people I check for.
Oh
Matter of
man,
fact, you the only one I got on the bell. So as soon as I cut it on, the bell gonna tell me, okay, you click on my phone. So
thank you, thank you.
I have
Let
you
me
on
go ahead
Bell
and
Alert too.
wait. What?
I have you on Bell Alert too.
Thank you. I know you do. Let me just go ahead and thank some people in the chat before I close out real quick. I want to thank Penny. I'm going to thank Lord Gaelic. I'm going to thank Strange Fruit. Man, there's a whole bunch of people in here I ain't never seen before. I want to thank Brooklyn T. There's somebody named Puppy Kisses. I think I've seen Puppy Kisses here before. I shouldn't say that. Someone named Love is the only thing that matters. I hope I see you again here. Who else? I want to definitely thank Big J Triple X, and I want to thank Pure Butterfly Spirit. Don't want to thank Antonio for trying to be funny. And listen here, Antonio, it wasn't like you gave anybody the vapors or nothing. Your little attempt was actually good comedy relief because one, it showed you, man, you need to just bone up on your trolling, man, for real. You need to do, but see, with good trolling comes wit. With wit comes intelligence,
You
and you
can't
don't
just
have that,
show
my
up
brother.
and do nothing. I mean, where's the talent in that?
That's what I'm saying. The man has no talent. All right, so y'all look, man, peace. This was damn good. I mean, I thought this was gonna be kind of disastrous because I was like, you know what? I didn't plan this. I'm just gonna get on here and talk about this Juno Diaz shit. And this probably I'm gonna be talking to crickets, but that's okay. And look what happened. So peace, y'all. This is great. I want to thank you all for coming. I'm gonna go ahead and close out because I got to get up at like 6:30. I'm sorry, 7:30 and get my kid out of the bed because of this event that she's got to be at. So peace to everybody and
hey,
thank you.
all
Bye,
right,
Forrest. Bye, Forrest. Bye,
Bye,
Angela.
everybody.
all right,
Bye.
Bye, Angela. Thank you, Force.
all right, man.
All right, peace.